football. LSU football obviously is right around the corner. They had more practices going on. Obviously, very small parts of those practices open to the media. But you're starting to get these press conferences, and you're starting to get some dialogue from the coaching staff not named Brian Kelly. Guys who are right there in the trenches, who are with these guys on the defensive side of the football, on the offensive side of the football, day in, day out, seeing the progression of this team. And Blake Baker had a lot of things to say in the media, which me and Jared and Lloyd were talking off air about. We like that, right, Jared? You kind of like what you've been hearing Blake Baker say.
Yeah, I like what he does. He seems like he runs a program full of accountability and how he wants guys to understand, communicate, and be open about what they're doing. And to me, what I get out of from what I've seen in the past, the way he communicates in the press right now lets me know that he's even that much more real to the players and blunt and about how he wants things and where they are and where he wants them to be. And he gives them a clear picture, if you will, about where they need to be to help this team out. He says they're a little inconsistent right now. If I had to guess, they're probably a little bit better than what he's telling it, right? But that also means that if he sees it that way, this team's got a ways to go. And I think if they're able to communicate the way it seems like he's trying to preach and where he wants to get this thing, this team and this defense really they're going to start shocking people. And I think you're going to start seeing something pretty early out them in the season and be like, oh, wait, we're not expecting this yet, and we're getting this. This could be something that this could be a player that we didn't know would be a player,
right?
In the sense of the big scheme of college football this year.
He talked about Harold Perkins. Obviously, he says that he likes his progression. He has a lot on his plate, but he's been playing really well. He singled out Ashton Stamps, said he's worked hard. He had a tough day on Saturday, and what I like is Blake Baker's not holding back in a sense, right? Like, he's telling these guys, he's very honest with these guys, he's up front with these guys, and he's being up front with the media. But agreeing with you, I like the fact that he's coming out there and saying, hey, look, they've made some progression, and they've made some progress, and they've done well. They're not there yet, a little bit inconsistent. I like to see them play a little bit. They're playing hard, which is important. And to me, hearing those words from a coach, and this isn't me talking like, oh, I'm an LSU homer. This is me talking as an athlete. If I'm watching it and I'm listening to my coach talk about this, if you go listen to any of the good coaches, they're going to talk about, oh yeah, we're doing all right, but we're not there yet, or we got room to go, or we're going in the right direction, but we got to do these things better. And to me, that's saying, okay, we can't get complacent. We got to continue to push forward. And if he was going the other way and he was bragging and he was talking up the defense, to me, I wouldn't feel as confident as I do right now in the defense. Lloyd, how do you feel on that?
I don't want no poodles.
Which I thought was great.
Great.
And if you don't know, can you explain the poodle?
A poodle's a lot of hands up. We don't want a hands up guy that refuses to tackle. That's a poodle.
Right. So,
if
you're playing D-back, if you're playing defensive back, and you miss an assignment or you get beat and the guy gets by you, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? And you're looking at other people and you're trying to put blame on someone else. Hey, it may not have been completely your fault. But there's no showing anybody up. That's a poodle in Blake Baker's mind. Right? You may love poodles. We're not trying to insult. We're not trying to get canceled here. We don't want to insult poodles.
I think it's more of the personality of the poodle, not the owner of the poodle.
Right? And so he's basically saying, hey, don't blame anybody else. Take responsibility for your actions. Right? We need you to be kind of a bulldog, not a poodle. We need you to be a Rottweiler and say, hey, this is my situation. I'm going to figure it out. Now, he didn't obviously say those words as a Rottweiler. I'm just putting that.
Rockweiler or Rottweiler?
Rottweiler. What did I say? Rottweiler.
Yeah, either way.
Rottweiler. And he's not saying that, but I'm just kind of reading between the lines. And same thing. We don't want guys who want to shy away from contact. That's a poodle. So I kind of like the mentality that he's bringing in defensively. You can tell that he played football. You can tell he played the position. You can tell that he's a guy that understands kind of the ins and outs of it, and not from a long, played it relatively, not that long ago.
Yeah. So, and people don't talk about this. I don't think this narrative is going around as much as I think it should be going around, but he was a big part of, for the 2 seasons being there. I think it was 2 seasons, right? at Missouri, being there because he was here in 21, correct?
Yes.
2 seasons being there at Missouri, 22 and 23. He was a big part of making that defense a top 5 defense in the SEC the last 2 years. So you exit that guy from Missouri. That, in my mind, probably has to play a lot in how they're going to play this year, and we'll find out about that. But you exit that guy here, and you bring him to what was a bottom 2 defense in the SEC last year in LSU. So I got to imagine just by having him and him ingrained in the culture and him cultivating everything that goes on, that is going to breed a lot more success. And now, obviously, you've added Corey Raymond, you've added Bo Davis, you've added all these other coaches on that side who are going to do a really good job of upgrading what you get out of the talent that they have there. You cannot tell me that that's not going to be a much improved side of the ball this year. How improved? We'll see. I don't know that. I gave you my guess on that already, but
top 30.
We'll see.
Let me ask you this though, and this is the danger of like this happens in every sport when you have to play against each other, right? Baseball, if the offense is playing really well for the season, pitching sucks. Or if the offense isn't playing well and the pitching's good, hitting sucks. Same thing on the football on football. On the defensive side of the football, seems like they're playing really well, doing some different things. You haven't really heard much on the offensive side of the football. Garrett Nussmeier comes out and says people are going to have to start putting respect on our defense. How are you taking that, Lloyd? Like, do you take that as hey, defense is playing really well, offense is trying to figure it out, or does that give you concern that their offense, okay, maybe they're not there yet?
No, I think it's a combination of things, one of which is you haven't been able to see really there's been 11 on 11 full pads once, and you saw the kind of what can happen when that run game gets going when you're LSU, and I think that's more of, I guess Nussmeier saying when we're going 7 on 7, and he's put up great numbers, but today was his first day that they struggled in that drill, and it was 11 on 11, no hitting, obviously thuds, but it was the first time, and it was only pass plays where the quarterback struggled. They went, I believe, 3 of 8 from what the media could see, and that was he's kind of had his pick of the litter.
He was 1 of 4.
Yeah, with a pick.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time he struggled in that setting without a pass rush, and that's the one thing that I think is interesting. Is like they're getting better each time, like each practice, because that's not what he was saying earlier on. Now it's like, okay, I can see it too.
Yeah. When I think about where they are right now and what they're doing, so this LSU offense, if you ask me, especially early on, right? You got a first-time legit starting quarterback to start a season, not to start a game. Obviously, He's had starts. He's had a start before. He's had one start, right?
One start.
He's had a start before, so it's not going to be his first start ever. But you have your first time, in my mind, starting quarterback this year. But you also have one of the most experienced and probably the best offensive line in the country. Nameless faces, I feel like you can almost put in the backfield right now. You're going to watch this LSU offense be most effective early in the year, in my opinion, through establishing a run game.
I agree.
And really pushing and really moving the ball that way, and then they'll kind of start opening it up, if you ask me. So where they are in camp and what they're doing right now, like you said, if it hasn't been full practice, you haven't really gotten a chance to really see that offense do what they should, in my opinion, what they should be doing best right now.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, that's where I think they're going to struggle. We need to know what we got up front, right? And so now when we're starting to get into this game and these guys are kind of starting to get this, that's where I think this thing will start coming along. But I'm not surprised at all, and that's what we're seeing from the offense right now because, like we said, these are all new guys that have not played together. They're learning each other. They're learning each other at that speed. They're learning each other in these windows and where the ball needs to be and how it needs to fit and when it's coming out, what's the spin like. They're learning all that stuff on the fly right now, and they're doing it in camp against what seems to be very legitimate competition. So that only bodes well for you to be able to go into the season and play well because the best situations in camp usually are offense has some wins, defense has some wins.
Yeah.
It's a tug of war, right? You just kind of go back and forth and we'll see what's going on. And I like where they're at right now.
Sticking on the defensive side, right? A big thing last year was the communication side of it, right? Not only did they, feel like they missed some tackles, and there's a lot of guys were running wide open in the secondary, and it just felt like they just were confused. Didn't really understand where they were supposed to be. Didn't understand their assignments. Didn't understand what their actual role was.
First and second down, they were
on
great.
defense. First and second down were great, and then all of a sudden things got a little complicated, and you got to cover crossing routes. You got to figure out you got to pass guys off or you not pass guys off, and all of a sudden guys are getting wide open. And LSU defensively is going into a different scheme now. Blake Baker admittedly has said this is more of a player-friendly scheme. A lot of word association. It helps them understand where they're supposed to be and allows them to play faster. He's even mentioned playing fast is a word that a lot of people use. Sometimes they don't really know what it means. He feels like they're almost playing too fast right now, right? Which is a good thing. It's easier to pull the reins back than say, hey, I need you to go and go faster, right? That tells me at least the guys right now defensively feel like they're confident in where they're supposed to be and what they're doing in that moment. Well, and sometimes you say, okay, you play fast, but also, hey, let's kind of see it.
For me, there's two sides of this, right? Like we kind of hit on with last week what I think playing fast means. And playing fast means, in my mind, is you are so sure, like legit sure about what your alignment, your assignment, and your adjustments and all of that stuff is, that it comes like this. It's like a quarterback going through his progressions and being able to get off one and go to the next and go to the next. That, in my mind, is what playing fast is, because now if I can do that, the body follows and I just go. Right now, where I think they are is when he says they're playing too fast and we need to pull that back a little bit, is they're not necessarily too sure, but they're too fast in these progressions to where they're not allowing some things to actually progress before they're shooting into a spot. Well, guess what? I can pull the reins back and get you back into that. It's really hard for me to kick you into that, because if you're always too late and you're never there, you're either not athletic enough or you're just not good enough or you're not smart enough. And all a combination of any of that, it's really hard for me to say you can play at this level, right? So I think back about it when I go back to it, when I got there as a freshman, I didn't play fast when they put me and say, hey, you go to the slide and you play this. I had to figure out, what are safeties doing? What is this linebacker doing? Where is the hot? What are the steps? I wasn't playing fast at that point. I was thinking.
Right.
I was thinking through the play. Ball's hiked, I'm thinking through where it's going, because I've never been in that spot before. As you get older, you start to see it quicker. You start to understand it quicker. You no longer are thinking. You understand the routes and steps and all of that. That, to me, is what's playing fast. It's not so much I'm playing with my hair on fire and I'm just running crazy. It's I'm processing this so quick that I'm able to go legit full speed doing the right things.
Right.
That, to me, is playing fast. And I think that's where he's trying to get this team to where they're processing what's going on in front of them, not just running around with their hair.
That's the big thing. And that's what he says, too fast, right? Like, hey, sometimes it's beneficial for you to just, like, take a beat and say, okay, this is where I see, are my eyes playing tricks on me, because that's what offenses are trying to do, right? You think you see something and all of a sudden it's doing something different. And, I like the fact that they are at that point right now, right? Because remember, you still got 3 weeks left until season starts. So, like, you still have time to figure this thing out and continue to get comfortable in the schemes and get comfortable in your roles. So I kind of like where they're at.
The fast they got now, to me, like, once again, it's that energy, that enthusiasm, which is that's another thing that's hard to get if you don't already bring it, right? So if I'm bringing the energy to you and I get you to get there and you're playing fast with enthusiasm, that's great, because hopefully I can keep you in that mindset. So if you're in that mindset and now I get you to start thinking the game correctly, it's golden.
And
it's golden.
That energy comes from the top down. That's
yes.
like Baker.
I mean, you watch the clips. You watch the clips from him. He's all over the place.
Intercepting balls on the sideline, right?
Like,
that's great.
Dropped one today.
Yeah,
and they knocked out 5 push-ups.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's bought in, and you can see it's not like a look at me show. It's like, this is the kind of energy I bring every day. This is what I expect, and the whole team is bought in on it. I don't think you'd see
attitude reflects leadership.
Yeah, I don't think you'd see.
They said that on Remember the Titans.
Matt House out there picking balls off and trying to run it back.
No, right.
Look at Lloyd over there just taking shots right now.
But you're seeing Blake Baker do it, right? And
I think
that's what you expected.
Coach.
That's what you expected when he got here. You needed to see that. You needed
shape.
to change energy. He looks like he still go out there and play. Like, you needed something like that for those guys to believe in, and they're doing that. Do they have actual scrimmages?
Yeah, they'll probably have at least one or two.
But those won't be open to the media.
I mean, obviously they'll have the one in the stadium that'll be open to, I think, alumni players and stuff like that. There'll probably be some media there, and they'll probably have at least another one and or two that are a scripted amount of plays that they'll do at the practice facility, probably closed. You won't be able to see it. But, yeah, they're going to have some full go scrimmages where they because you need to. Like, you have to be able to tackle full, bring players to the ground, get guys used to doing that, because especially for the defensive side of the ball, dude, it's really tough for guys to understand how to play to the whistle in Tiger Stadium and or any other real stadium, real game, if they've never played to the whistle before.
Right.
So, and understanding how to do that means I got to understand We got to be able to bring people all the way to the ground for me to understand now it's time to give off. Because if you never do that and all you all are is tagging off all the time, literally all the time, well, when it comes time for the game, these guys are so used to tagging off that when they see a guy maybe halfway down with a hand on the ground, they're already ingrained in tagging off instead of I need to wrap you up and bring you down. So they're gonna do it. I don't know how Brian runs and stuff, but they're definitely gonna do it.
They did it on Saturday.
There you go.
What?
On Saturday.
But they have more
imaging?
coming too,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, it's a thing.
They did on Saturday. They're doing this Saturday.
No, they did on this past Saturday.
Yeah, but like a full like.
They practiced for an hour and a half, and I think that was a good portion of the practice was them going 11 on 11
Okay.
and full tackling.
Yeah.
You saw the Caleb Jackson Weeks interaction, and then I think the more impressive one was the counterplay when Caleb Jackson scored, and Jordan Gilbert made a business decision when he saw Caleb Jackson running through the hole, and it was one-on-one. Good cut.
Yeah, didn't want it.
Yeah.
Didn't want it. Good job, bud. I didn't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want
that
you.
shoulder for the year.
Yeah,
man.
I didn't want to go down. I didn't want to get you low. That was the only way I was going to be able to get you. So, like, hey, I don't want to hurt you.
You avoided me.
Yeah.
But when you talk about tagging off, Blake Baker talked about that on Saturday after the practice where he understands that where college football is now and football in general, like he said you get probably 4 opportunities to full go and full tackle.
Yeah.
It's like, so we're teaching it differently where it's not about just getting to the football. It's about putting them where you think the rest of the defense is going to be within the scheme, so you can you can tag off and there's other people around you, so you can tackle. Essentially like gang tackling, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
it's a different way to look at it, and you have to.
No, you have to, and I don't know if y'all remember the conversation. We talked about this last year with Tommy Moffitt in a sense of they're so used to the skill base. Today's football, they're so used to the skill-based type of practice and everything that these guys are so advanced skill-wise, but a lot of times the physicality maybe lacks a little bit because you don't do as much of that stuff. You're not so used to bringing guys to the ground. You're not so used to running through tackles because, well, you just haven't done as much of it, right? And so I think understanding that, him talking about it and saying like, hey, we need to be able to, if I can't be full physical and fully tackle and bring guys down, there needs to be a culture of 11 hats to the ball every single play, through the whistle, running it down. Just like when you see receivers and or offensive players catch passes and it's 60 yards, even though they're supposed to be back in the next play. It's that mentality of finishing it off in a really good defense. If we're talking about really good defenses year in and year out, bro,
that's what they do.
They gang tackle. It is a party at the football.
Well, and by doing that and teaching yourself like those habits, right? Hey, catching a screen pass in practice and getting past the first level and getting past the cornerback and running 60 yards after the whistle's blown. Not only is that teaching you habits of always getting into the end zone, it's always going to get you in shape, right? Like you're gonna be exhausted, but you're gonna be in better shape by doing that and creating those habits and gang tackling and chasing the ball and making sure everybody's there. You're gonna always do that.
But you know what else it also brings to is I think people don't understand where these camp fights come from. But imagine it's August and it's hot as hell and you sweating your ass off and you got sweat dripping out of your cleats and all we are is in shells. And as an offense, I'm trying to get used to running through tackles and finishing plays.
Oh, yeah.
And as a defense, well, we need to get 11 hats to the ball and we need to stop the ball because if he keeps running, he feels like he won. We feel like we won if we got 5 people around you and you can no longer go forward. So you get to leaning and pulling and pushing on me too much. I'm trying to run. I need you to get off me. It turns into that. That's where it comes from. That's how it always goes.
And the whistle's blowing. You're trying to go there, and all of a sudden you get the DT give you a little shoulder check.
One little
and you're
too
like,
much,
whatever, and you get a shoulder check back, and it's like
next play.
You don't want the fights, right? Look, it's part of the competition. You're hearing coaches now get up there and like, hey, listen, if you get in a fight in practice, you're ejected, which is what happens in the regular game. So you're no longer practicing. You don't want to see that, but you do want to see a little bit of edge. You want to get to the line and get away, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. But the fact that they are promoting that again is like, hey, it ain't a one-on-one type of thing. You can't do that. And as high octane as the offenses are now and how many plays they run, by doing that, you're going to be better equipped to be able to sustain that through the course of the game. You're going to be in better shape. You're not going to have to be chasing guys all over the field because their cutback lanes aren't going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So you're going to, instead of having a 25-yard run, you're going to have a 5-yard run.
Yeah.
Or an 8-yard run. And that's a lot better than having to chase a guy 25 yards and hurry up, get back on line, and try to do it all over again.
Yeah, what I'm enjoying most about the reports that are coming out is literally just the revitalized energy. It's if I can get players to be bought into doing these things, That is how we turn into being a good defense in the first place. If I don't have that at all, if I can't get buy-in, then I can't get you to understand and really try to go after these concepts. And seemingly that's where he has these players right now. They're bought in. And while they're buying in and they're doing these things inherently with the talent that comes to this place, that comes in and out of Baton Rouge, that comes in and out of Tiger Stadium in purple and gold, you're going to have a good defense. How good, where the top end of it is, we don't know that yet. We will see. But that's when you know you're going to have a good team.
Agreed.
The energy is not just coming from Blake Baker. It's the Davis brothers on both sides of the football. And Kevin Peoples, I'll mention again, has also every practice has started off by bringing the energy up for the defensive line and the defensive ends that he's working with. And obviously offensively, you have Sloan, who is still – I know he's the offensive coordinator, but he is primarily working with quarterbacks like for the most of practice.
And let me tell you this too. As far as for that defensive side of the ball, don't get me wrong. To be good, you have to kind of know you're good already. You have to kind of understand that you're good already. But I can go back to times when you and I played together. Like, you joined the 09 baseball team seeing what we did in 08. We that were there in 08 knew what we had already. We knew we were good. You got into it. Got bought in, and then started doing as well. And like, oh shit, yeah, I belong too, right? Those guys, once they start playing this year, fresh off of a year that was what it was last year, game 1, game 2, if they start playing well, wait till you see that thing really start ticking up. Then, because at that point, that's when they show up. We knew we were good. We thought we were pretty good, but now we just proved it, and now we know that there's just more levels that we can go to. So that I'm interested to see just what the top end of this defense will be this year, because I do believe it's going to be a